You know, sometimes you just got to look at things at hindsight being 2020. Because let me tell you, if someone were to tell me that 16 games into the season, looking at this schedule that the Buccos have, and you were to tell me that through 16 games, this team would be 11-5, and right there with the Milwaukee Brewers in this case for the NL Central crown, I'd take that any day of the week. I really would. But like I said, you got to take it with hindsight sometimes because sure we split a 4-game series with the Philadelphia Phillies, but we didn't play our best baseball. Still a lot of fielding errors, still a lot of mental mistakes, a lot of gaffes, wasted opportunities, wasted starts, wasted outings. Bullpen didn't look on par. But in the end, the bats came through in the most pivotal moment. And in this 6-game stretch against two tough teams, in my opinion, with Detroit and Philly, we went 3-3. Sure, in my opinion, we should have taken 3 out of 4 against the Phillies because yesterday was a very big wasted opportunity thanks to the bullpen. But we're 11-5. And I know this is not the best version of this team that we're seeing because they still keep making mistakes. They're still not playing perfect baseball, but they're just finding ways to win. And when other opponents make mental gaffes as well, it helps us that much, and it's fun to see, in my opinion. But let's dive into this 4-game set. What's going on, everybody? I am Mac. Back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram, link down in the box below. Pirates 9, Phillies 2 in this 4-game series finale. Was it a perfect game? Absolutely not. Was it a perfect series? Absolutely not. But in the end, we split a 4-game series with Philly, and we're sitting at 11-5. So let's recap the series before I dive into Sunday afternoon's game because there is stuff that I want to say. You got to feel for Jared Jones on Thursday. Dude pitched amazing Thursday. Quality start for him. He had the couple of mistake pitches that cost him a chance in my opinion, going in the distance. But the offense got to do better. Plain and simple. The offense, for the most part in this series in general, was abnormally quiet because going into this series, the Buccos were getting extra base hits. They were a top 5 offensive team going into the series. And for the most part in this series, the offense was very underwhelming. And I think that really showed Thursday night in a 5-1 loss to the Phillies, where they wasted a great game for Jared Jones. Love Jared Jones so far. Guy's pitching phenomenal in his first couple of starts, but I just wish he would get more run support. That collision in the outfield didn't help, didn't make things any easier as well. It's just a scenario where you got to call your guys off. It's basic fundamental baseball right there. And I get that this is a young team and I'm not overreacting towards it, but I mean, when you're a pony leaguer, you're taught to call, not even a pony leaguer. When you're a little leaguer, you're taught to call your guy off. But you also got to take advantage with runners on as well. And that's what doomed us Thursday night. Friday, the Phillies, they didn't play their best ball Friday. They were gifting us run after run after run. I mean, the Phillies defense, they did everything to lose that game Friday night. And in the end, what I heard was Bailey Falter throwing his best pitches. Bailey Falter having another quality start after the start before he pitched 5 no-hit innings against the Orioles. And the Pirates got a couple of runs when they needed them most in the 9th inning to win the game 5-2. And despite Aroldis Chapman, for as much as I like the guy, he did not have his best stuff Friday night. But David Bednar made up for Tuesday's atrocity against Detroit and notched his second save of the season. Henry Davis looks like he's starting to swing the bat better. So that's a plus. But then yesterday, big missed opportunity. O'Neal Cruz, 2-run homer to give the Buccos a 3-2 lead. And Aroldis Chapman comes back on the mound again later on. And this time he blew it. Every single pitch yesterday was in the dirt, off, out of the zone, not on par. The Phillies were jumping all over it. And the game had to go to extra innings. That was a game we should have won yesterday, again, in spite of the sloppy play that the Pirates had. But Philly found a way to win, and the bullpen cost us once again yesterday, and the Phillies were taking 2 out of 3. Like I said, I mean, you have to be able to overcome sloppy play. And for the most part this season, the Pirates have been doing that. But you can't rely on bailing out your entire team for the whole season, much like another Pittsburgh team does that's famous for, okay? But you can't bail out your own ineptitude because you dig yourself into a hole early on. You got to have quality baseball all the way through. Yes, I understand you're going to have bad games here and there. But it seems like the Pirates are just not playing perfect baseball, and they have to come up with something big in order to dig themselves out of the mess that they created. But then you go to today's game, Sunday's game. Zach Wheeler, I mean, if I'm a Phillies fan, I would be so pissed off at this offense because Zach Wheeler was just busting his behind all afternoon. He struck out 10 Pirates. At one point, he struck out 4 in a row, including retiring the side. So Zach Wheeler pitched amazing Sunday. But then that 5th inning came where the bases got loaded, and in came Jack Sawinski, who's been struggling to start off the year. And all he did was hit a line drive, laser shot, grand salami to right field that just cleared the seats. And that put the Pirates ahead 5-2, and that was a lead they would not relinquish. Couple of batters later, Joey Bart, who in my opinion needs to catch for Mitch Keller. I'll get more into that later. Joey Bart, his second home run as a Pirate, murdered one to left field. 370 feet. If you heard the crack of the bat, you knew that puppy was going to the parking lot in Citizens Bank Park. You knew that was going to be a home run. And Joey Bart creamed it. Follow that up with a pass ball that allowed Jared Triolo to score. And then the big shot came. How about Andrew McCutchen? To start off the season, we were wondering, when's he going to hit number 300? Well, he answered that question in the top of the 9th Sunday afternoon, where he swatted his 300th career homer to left field in a crowd of Phillies fans. It was a Bucco fan that caught it. And Andrew McCutchen, after tipping his helmet to the crowd at Citizens Bank Park, he became 4th all-time in home runs in Pirates history, trailing Willie Stargell, Ralph Kiner, and Roberto Clemente. Very good company right there, all Hall of Famers. And for a while about Cutch, I've been wondering, aside if he's going to be a Hall of Famer, I've been wondering, who is that 4th guy on the Pirates' Mount Rushmore? Because I think everyone can agree with the first 3. Honus Wagner, Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell. I think anyone can agree with that. But who's the 4th one? Bob Friend? Perhaps. But we're not looking at like pitchers that were just there, for a couple of good seasons. Barry Bonds? Nope. Not me. Maybe for some other Pirate fans, but not me. He's always going to be hatefully remembered in Pittsburgh for Game 7 of 1992. I don't need to talk about that. Not Barry Bonds. even though he did win 3 straight NL MVPs for the Bucs. Dave Parker, for those of you younger Bucco fans that don't know who Dave Parker is, he was a quintessential he was a big contributing force for the Pirates teams of the 70s. Maybe him, maybe older Bucco fans would agree with me when I say that. Bill Mazeroski, his walk-off winner of the 1960 World Series against the Yankees. Those are all good cases. But I think you have a legitimate case for Andrew McCutchen. Why? Number one, he's a hometown favorite. The dude's never going to have to pay for a drink in Pittsburgh again. That's just facts. He's beloved in the city. Even when he was away from the Buccos for those couple of seasons, everyone still loved him. That was the reason no one was coming to PNC Park, because Cutch is not in the lineup. Cutch is not on the team. They pay their tickets to go see their favorite Pirate that they've seen in a long time. Me personally, I started, when I first became a Bucco fan, the players that I loved were Jason Kendall, guys like Jason Kendall, guys like Chris Benson, guys like Brian Giles, guys like Jason Bay, guys like Jack Wilson, guys like Craig Wilson, guys like Rob McCowiak even. Those were the guys that I started off watching. But in comes Andrew McCutchen, a guy who's beloved in the city, a guy who was a premier baseball player for a good half decade, a guy who was a great two-way player, a guy who won NL MVP for the Bucs in 2013, a guy who had good pop in the swing, but he never tried to hit homers every single time, a guy who was responsible for the biggest moment that this franchise has had, possibly since the wild card game. And if you want to go back then even further, I would probably say since the 79 World Series, where he had the walk-off 2-run homer against St. Louis back in 2015. A guy who is a humanitarian and a guy who's just an overall class act in Andrew McCutchen. That's what I'm talking about when I say who is the fourth head on that Mount Rushmore for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think you have a case for Andrew McCutchen. His 300th career home run. The only question for him now, is he Cooperstown bound? A lot of people are arguing that it's a mixed opinion sort of thing. That's another video for later. But I'm just enjoying the fact that we now have a guy who's hit 300 career home runs and he plays for the black and gold. I'm just happy he did it as a Pirate. So that was your offense for today. The Pirates offense, I mean, it was kind of like a chore to watch the offense for the first 3 games of the series because the offense was just not there. And, the Pirates, they were scoring runs and getting on base left and right. But then this series comes and they're squandering more opportunities. They're getting impatient at the plate. I mean, O'Neal Cruz went 0 for 5 today, for crying out loud. And while I'm not too concerned about that because stats are very skewed at the beginning of the season, it's just something that you just want to see them clean up on, aside from the fielding and aside from the shaky bullpen, was just squandering opportunities. But they came through in a big way, and the offense finally got back on sync with scoring a season-high 9 runs this season, which tied was it the third Marlins game from a couple weeks ago? I believe it was. But the thing I love most about the offense today is that they gave Mitch Keller breathing room. All season so far, Mitch Keller has not gotten run support. Mitch Keller was struggling to start off the season, but in comes a kid in Joey Bart, who earlier I said should catch for Mitch Keller, and this is why. What was wrong with Mitch Keller before? Was it his velocity? Perhaps. Was it just a weaker arm? Perhaps. Was it just a bad start to the season? Yeah, but what was causing it? We don't know. Maybe it's just the catcher, and he just needed a new catcher. And guess what? Mitch Keller is now 2-0 with Joey Bart as his catcher because he pitched in the first game against Detroit last Monday. Joey Bart was the catcher. Mitch Keller looks superb. Rang up 9 strikeouts. I mean, he didn't have 9 strikeouts today. He only had 4, but he still went 7 innings today. And he looked great once again. He was nailing the fastball. I'd like to see him hit more of that fastball and stop getting cute with the pitches that he doesn't regularly throw. But Mitch Keller is now 2-0 with Joey Bart as his catcher. Maybe that's all Mitch Keller needed. So, like I said, going forward, I want to see Joey Bart catch for Mitch Keller. That's what I want to see. And Joey Bart swings a decent bat so far. But yeah, man, we split this 4-game set with the Phillies. Like I said, it wasn't perfect. We did a lot of dumb things in this series, as did the Phillies. But like I said at the beginning, you got to take it in hindsight. And I'm sorry if some of my comments are, a little bit off. You have to take some of my comments with a grain of salt because, with me having a full-time job, I have a girlfriend and I have a social life outside of YouTube. I don't have time to sit down and watch the games in their whole, but I do know enough about what happened. So again, you may have to take some of my comments with a grain of salt. But like I said, if someone tells me, hey, Mac, through 16 games, the Pirates are going to be 11-5. The Pirates starting off the season playing teams that made the playoffs, teams that won 100 games last season, teams that were in the NLCS last season. If you tell me that this team was going to be 11-5 through 16 games, I'll take that any day of the week. Sure, we should have won Saturday. We should have taken 3 out of 4 against Philly, but I'm not complaining about an 11-5 record. So next up for the Bucs, we're in Queens to play the Mets. That's a 3-game series. Martin Perez is starting on Monday. Martin Perez, phenomenal game Tuesday against Detroit. Let down by David Bednar and Derek Shelton. Did not deserve to have a no decision. Bucco should have swept that series, in my opinion, against Detroit, but it is what it is. Let's just hope that Bednar's back on track and Shelton doesn't do any more stupid crap like, oh, our closer who's hurt and is missing the zone and just allowed a tie game and hit 2 batters in 1 inning is struggling. Let's keep him in there. You yank him at that point. That's a loss that's on Shelton, in my opinion. That is. And Saturday is too. We've lost 5 games so far. Usually they're all on Shelton, but I'm telling you, 2 of the losses so far are on him. Anyway, we're in Queens to play the Mets. The Mets are off to a rocky start. I think we should be able to beat them. Not saying the Mets are a bad team, but they just kind of punted last season, and that's where they are right now. But I think the Mets is a winnable series. Then we come home to play the Boston Red Sox 3-game set. That was a team that we went to Fenway last year and we swept. Red Sox, I think, are a beatable team as well. They do score runs. They can pitch well from time to time, but the Red Sox are just very inconsistent. They got pummeled by the Orioles in a series coming off of that. So I think we should be able to go at least 4-2 in these next 6 games. That's my benchmark for a successful series. We take 4 out of these next 6 games. We're sitting at 15-7, possibly first place in this division. That's a successful stretch to me right there. So let's just see. Martin Perez starts on Monday. Then it's going to be I believe it's going to be Jared Jones for the second game. And Marco Gonzalez got placed on IL, so I don't know who's going to be the 5th starter now. But hey, there is a kid named Paul Skeens out of LSU in the Buccos farm who pitched a hell of a game Friday night. He had 8 strikeouts through 3 innings. So maybe we see him a little bit sooner. We'll see how that goes, but we'll see who gets the green light to start for the third Mets game. Then I think it's back to the top of the rotation. Keller starts the first Boston game. Then you go to Martin Perez for the second game. And then you are at Jared Jones for the third game. So we'll see how it goes. But hey, we're 11-5 through 16 games, Bucco fans. Just let that sink in. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I am Mac, checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.